Hey everyone, it's Kristen. Okay, so this is the second video in my holiday series. Like I said, I was going through all my comic books and pulled out ones that I just thought were interesting and I wanted to share. I found this one, Green Lantern 36, says from Dr. Light to Green Lantern, have a deadly Christmas. There's not very many. I think it's cool that they sometimes will do like specific like issues, for the holidays. Um, of course, there's not that many, but they're always fun to look at. So basically, of course, this one is about Hal Jordan. It was like 1993, um, and it starts with Hal and Carol going to visit his family, and he's flying them, and they're kind of talking about their relationship. I mean, they have a, a super complicated relationship. I mean, they're always like back and forth and stuff because she has to deal. This is after one of her episodes with Star Sapphire, and she just has a lot to deal with, and she just is like, I really don't want to talk about that right now. But basically, Hal made her come, saying you can't spend Christmas alone. And so, so they go and visit his family, and he has a brother. Jim has a wife and kids, and his other brother is apparently a governor, and his wife. And let's see. And the reason I show you this page is because his two uncles are debating on superheroes, whether they should be allowed to be, basically. Um, and they talk about the death of Superman, which this this wasn't the first time that Superman died, but he died once in the 60s, once in the 70s, but of course, like, he came right back. I mean, but this was like the first major death of Superman. He died and was gone basically for a year. I mean, that's kind of unheard of in comic books because well, nobody stays dead in comic books. It's a huge joke. It's kind of like soap operas in that way, that nobody really stays dead. They're like presumed dead, or you saw them die, but they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, or no, that was my evil twin, or that was my clone, or what. It's kind of funny that like comic books are kind of like soap operas in that sense, because nobody ever stays dead. But anyway, so they're talking about that, and Carol is like, I can't understand why Jim's wife would give up her career for her family and stuff. And then you see like Dr. Light, who's kind of narrating all this, and he's like, I want the light, I need it, and he followed basically Hal Jordan all the way there because like he's stuck in this other dimension, but he can sense the light, Green Lantern's light, and he's like consumed by it. He wants it. Um, so he basically, they wanted to Hal to dress up like Santa Claus, but Hal's like, oh, well, Carol's in like a terrible, mood. She's not feeling festive at all. So if I put on this Santa suit, she's gonna go crazy, or she's, just gonna be like, oh, that's the last straw. I'm leaving. So he makes his brother Jim do it, and while he's in the hall filming the whole thing, and you can see Dr. Light starts to use the Christmas lights to attack Santa, Jim, basically, his brother. And like, here's his wife freaking out, saying, oh my gosh, it won't let go. What's going on? And of course, Hal's in the hallway, and he, activates his powers really quick and comes in. I don't know. I think like one of the reasons I like this issue is just because it's just so kind of dynamic. You can see him like he's trapped in all the Christmas lights, and it's just it's not something you see in very many issues. I think that's what makes it like so dynamic and cool is that you don't see that imagery very often, um, especially I mean, you think about it, a villain using Christmas lights to get to the hero, basically, um, where that premise hasn't been done very often. Um, and so basically, one of the little boys, he catches on fire, and his mom like jumps in and was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to, I have to save you." She basically puts herself in harm's way, um, to protect her family. And Carol's like, I can't, why would you do that? And that gets her thinking, well, maybe, because, earlier she had said, why would you give up your career? Because she's very career focused. She always has been. I mean, that's the whole thing with how, like, they go back and forth, and she's like, well, I can't date you because we work together, you work for me or whatever. I mean, she uses that as kind of an excuse a lot, which I get that, you shouldn't date people you work with necessarily, especially if you're the boss. I don't know, but I mean, there's all kinds of rules for stuff like that. But I mean, rules are meant to be broken. If it's real love, then why not? But they have a very complicated history, like super complicated. Yeah. Anyway, and she and the little kids call her Aunt Carol, and they talk about, well, when are you guys going to get married? And she's like, oh my gosh, your family, he's like, I'm sorry. They can't help it. And apparently, the wife used to be an investigative journalist. So she's like all snoopy and asking tons of questions. And so then Carol, after the tree catches on fire, the little boy's like, oh my gosh. And right here, she says, don't worry, Aunt Carol's got you. So you can see her heart softening a little bit. So anyway, this is, I don't know, like sometimes to me, the most interesting part of like comic books is the more human aspect of them, like the actual stories that we can relate to, because of course we don't have superpowers. We can't save the world. But the stories where they show the hero's humanity, I think that resonates with me the most, because then you can relate more to them, and you think, oh, well, it's possible. It could happen. They're just like me. Not really, but you know what I mean. So anyway, Dr. Light shows up in his full glory. They fight, kind of. I mean, like I said, the whole fight between them supposedly takes like it's 2 pages, um, so to speak. But pretty much anyway, Dr. Light is attracted to Green Lantern's ring, so he basically sucks him into the power battery, which sends him, all the way to the home planet where, the Green Lantern Corps is. And basically he's sucked into that huge power source, and Green Lantern's like, well, Hal is like, well, they'll like, I let them know, and they're going to, sort him out and contain him so that he can't harm anyone else, So anyway, like, I mean, the fight is not the point of this book. Like I said, I think it's more about focused on the humanity and his family and Carol, the turmoil she's going through and everything. And his family apparently doesn't know that he's Green Lantern. At one point, for some reason, the wife and other people thought Jim, his brother, was Green Lantern. It's kind of weird. And Jim even makes a point to say, like, am I Green Lantern? I don't remember anything that happened. But all of a sudden, here's, Green Lantern showed up, whatever. Anyway, it's kind of funny. And then, yeah. And the poor Christmas tree, it's burned to a crisp. So the kids are like, "Aw," but they're like, "Oh, at least Santa saved the presents." Anyway, and then basically at the very end, Carol's like, I thought your brother's wife was a fool for putting her career and her life on the back burner, because as soon as you have kids, it's all about them. You don't get any time to yourself. And then it says, but when I saw how she reacted to her son being hurt, I asked myself, have I ever loved something so much? You have a love like that with the GL Corps, talking to Hal. Where will I find it? In a corporation? In myself? I guess what I'm saying is, and this kind of is weird how she leads up to this, but she's like, don't you think it's time that we got married? The last panel. So that's the last panel, is don't you think it's time? And this was 1993. I mean, there's one story where like she's shown a future where she does get married and they have kid, but yeah, it's never happened. I don't know, it's odd, like I said. I mean, they have a very rocky relationship between her turning into Star Sapphire and basically Hal having to like cure her of that persona, like, and it happens multiple times. It's complicated. It's a very complicated romance, and yet they keep drifting back to each other, and but yet they never got married. So, I guess it's like I said, it's like a soap opera. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to try to put some, human emotional drama in there, and with nothing really resolved. And I mean, because soap operas can go on for like 10 years with the same plot line. Oh, I mean, it's sad but true. My mom used to watch soap operas. I watched soap operas with my sister for a little while, and then we like, yeah, they don't go anywhere, so to speak. I mean, they're entertaining, but they don't really go anywhere. So we quit watching them. But I mean, at the time though, they were entertaining. We enjoyed them. But anyway, that's kind of what like their story reminds me of. Is just one big, long, drawn-out soap opera. But anyway, like I said, I thought, especially this cover is very dynamic. I really like that, just jumps out at me, and so I thought I would share that with you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you will join me for my other holiday videos. Until next time, bye.